Okay, so we have been discussing on how the polyenoic fatty acids or polyunsaturated fatty acids are synthesized in the body. So for that, we'll first again once more go through the structure of the monounsaturated fatty acids. So the monounsaturated fatty acids has to be synthesized first, and again the MUFA or the monounsaturated or monoenoic fatty acids are synthesized from what? The saturated fatty acids. And a typical example for the fatty acids are the palmitic acid and the stearic acid. So palmitic acid is the C16 fatty acid, which is the parent fatty acid to be synthesized by the body using fatty acid synthase complex, which can either be acted upon by elongase enzyme or it can be acted upon by desaturase enzyme, right? So the palmitic acid has got two fates. Either they can undergo elongation. So what happens during elongation? Palmitic acid, the C16 palmitic acid will be converted into the next higher member, that is C18 fatty acid, the stearic acid. So only the chain length is increased, so that C18 fatty acid, which is known as a stearic acid, can be synthesized if it is acted upon by microsomal chain elongase system. Or palmitic acid has got a minor fate also, because only a few quantity of palmitic acid will be converted into the desaturated form, that is palmitoleic acid, by delta 9 desaturase enzyme, again which is also present on the in the microsomes. So palmitic acid can be acted upon by palmitoleic delta 9 desaturase enzyme to give rise to palmitoleic acid. Otherwise, majority of the palmitic acid will be undergoing elongation stage to give rise to stearic acid, which then is acted upon by the delta 9 desaturase enzyme to give rise to the monounsaturated fatty acid, the oleic acid. So the oleic acid is synthesized from the stearic acid. Okay, so stearic acid converted into the monoenoic fatty acid or monounsaturated fatty acid, which is known as the oleic acid, having 18 carbon atom itself, but the difference is that it's having a unsaturation or a presence of a double bond or enoic group, ene, that is double bond, is present, is located between the C9 and the C10, or on the delta 9 desaturase enzyme converts stearic acid to oleic acid, right? All of which is happening in the microsomes. But the body prefers polyunsaturated fatty acids to the monounsaturated fatty acids, because the PUFA has got very important role in the body. It is responsible for many important functions like the free radical scavenging, the antioxidant activity, the maintenance of the cell membrane. So numerous activities are carried out by the polyunsaturated fatty acids. So what happens? This monounsaturated fatty acids has to be then undergoing more number of desaturation, or more number of double bonds has to be introduced in the monounsaturated fatty acids, so that it can be converted into the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Again, how can it be carried out? It can be carried out by other type of desaturases like delta 6 desaturase, delta 3 desaturase, delta 5, delta 4, etc. So there are other desaturases also are present in the microsomes, but all those desaturases can act only after the functioning of delta 9 desaturase enzyme, because the delta 9 desaturase enzyme is the very first enzyme to introduce double bond on a saturated fatty acid. The first desaturase to come into action is the delta 9 desaturase, followed by the other desaturases like delta 6, delta 5, delta 4, etc. Right? So that is how the polyunsaturated fatty acids can be synthesized from the monounsaturated fatty acids. So what do you mean by delta 6 fatty acid? The delta 6 fatty acids, what does it, how are the delta 6 fatty acids or delta 6 desaturase functioning? Delta 6 desaturase will be introducing a double bond on a delta 6th position, or the C6, or in between C6 and C7, right? So that is how the double bonds are, more and more double bonds are introduced, that is in between the delta 9 and the carboxy terminal end, right? So this is the delta direction. This is how the direction of delta carbon atoms will be initiated. So with respect to the carbonyl group, we are representing the delta position, right? And again, the fatty acid is having another end, which is known as a methyl end, right? This is a methyl end and this is a carbonyl end or carboxyl end, right? So COH, if the numbering is starting from COH, with respect to COH, then we call it as delta, right? So delta desaturase or delta desaturases can introduce double bond from the carbonyl group. Okay, so delta 9 means, since it's a C18 carbon atom, the 9th position is the exact middle, right? So omega 9 parnalum, delta 9 parnalum, it is one and the same, because it's an 18 carbon or even numbered carbon atom or even numbered fatty acid. Clear. So this is in between C9 and C10. So ഇവിടെ നോക്കുള്ളൂ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. കണ്ടോ 9 between 9 and 10. ഇവിടെ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ between 9 and 10. So it will be one and the same. But when coming to the delta 6 desaturase is not, the numbering is not starting from this position. The numbering is start from the carbonyl position. That's why we are giving stress to delta position. So delta means it will be always the numbering is starting from the carbonyl end. So delta 6 desaturase is introducing a double bond on the 6th carbon atom starting from the carbonyl, not from this methyl group. If the numbering is starting from the methyl group, then we call it as omega. Omega means the last one. That is, we have, I think I have already mentioned that omega in the Greek letter stands for Z in our English alphabets. Okay, so if we are representing omega 6 fatty acid, then you have to understand that the numbering is starting from the methyl group, not from the carbonyl end. So omega 6 means if a fatty acid is having a double bond on the omega 6 position, then you have to understand that it is the numbering is starting from the methyl end, not from the carbonyl end. So the double bond will be on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so this is the position of the double bond of a omega 6 fatty acid. അതേസമയം delta 6 fatty acid ആണെങ്കിൽ it will be on this particular position. So you have to understand the difference between an omega 6 fatty acid and a delta 6 fatty acid. Why I'm stressing or implying more and more stress on this omega and delta? Because the delta 6 fatty acids or delta 5 fatty acids, all of which can be synthesized by the body, because we have got desaturases enzyme in mammalian system. In mammalian system, we have got different type of desaturases, but all those desaturases can introduce double bond with respect to the delta position. That is, once this delta 9 desaturase is acted and introduced a double bond in between the C9 and C10 or on the delta 9 position, the further desaturation can happen only between this delta 9 and this carbonyl group, not beyond this C9. Okay, so you can never introduce a double bond on C12 position or C18 position and all. Clear. So it can introduce double bonds only in between the carbonyl group and the C9, right? Not beyond the C9, right? So why, again, what is the importance? The polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are able to carry out the significant biological functions, should have double bonds on C12, C18 or C15, etc. Right? Not in between, or not in between the carbonyl and the C9. Right? There is no biological, there is no significant function which is carried out by C6 fatty acid, C6C9 fatty acids. C6C9 means C6C9 dienoic fatty acids, right? Or delta 6 delta 9 dienoic fatty acids. There is no significant functions they are carried out. Only those fatty acids which are having double bonds beyond this 9th carbon atom are able to carry out these antioxidant activity and all. But the problem is that the body is not able to synthesize those fatty acids which are having double bonds beyond the 9th carbon atom. That is, in other words, the body require omega 3, omega 6 fatty acids, which means omega 3 means there is a double bond on the 3rd position, but with respect to the methyl group. Methyl group ne which is respected, the numbering should be started from this position. That is 1, 2, 3. So if a fatty acid is having a double bond on the omega 3 position along with the C9. C9 of course is there. Desaturase in 9th position double bond is, of course, it is there, right? But apart from the 9th C9 or the delta 9, or can all be named as omega 9. Apart from the omega 9, if a fatty acid is having other double bonds on omega 6 and omega 3 position, only those fatty acids we call it as poly. Of course, the other fatty acids are also known as polyunsaturated fatty acids, but they are not able to carry out the important biological functions which has to be carried out in the mammalian system. Only those fatty acids which are having double bonds beyond this delta 9 or only beyond the C9 can be can be able to carry out the important biological functions. So those fatty acids we call it as omega-6 and omega-9. That is, we are giving importance to the methyl group, the numbering starting from the methyl group. So such fatty acids which we call as the omega-3 fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids. Actually, these fatty acids are required by the body, not these delta-6 and delta-3. They are not having any significance in the body. The fatty acids, the polyenoic fatty acids or the polyunsaturated fatty acids which are required by the body belongs to the omega-6 and omega-3 category. But the problem is that again, the body do not have any enzymes to synthesize the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So such fatty acids, it is necessary for the body. So it has to be supplied to the body through the diet. Only from the food that is we are consuming, the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids can be entered into the body, because the body do not have the enzymes to synthesize omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So it must be supplied through the diet, and hence those polyunsaturated fatty acids which are belong to the omega category, we call it as essential fatty acids, EFA. Essential fatty acids. So these essential fatty acids must be supplied through the diet. Then only it can meet the demand. Okay. The delta-6 and delta-3, that is those even polyunsaturated fatty acids are, they are having more than one number of double bonds, but they can be synthesized by the body, but they are not able to carry out the significant role in the body. They do not have any functions in the body. The important functions are carried out by the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. But again, the disadvantage is that there are no enzymes. There are no omega-6 or omega-3 desaturated enzyme present in the body. So they are to be supplied through the diet, and hence they are known as essential fatty acids. Okay, so a typical example for an essential fatty acid is linoleic acid. Linoleic acid. So the derivative is, or the linoleic acid is derived from the name itself. You can understand it is a oleic acid. So oleic acid undergoes one more round of desaturation, but then there the desaturation is happening on the omega-6 position. But this is a 9, right? The one omega 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there will be a double bond introduced here. So now we are having two double bonds, one on the 6th position and other on the 9th position with respect to the omega or the methyl group. So we call it as omega 6, 9 dienoic fatty acid. Okay, so oleic acid can undergo desaturation on the omega 6 position, converting it into linoleic acid. So it's a dienoic fatty acid having two double bonds in its structure. One on the 6th, C6 എന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല, ഇതിപ്പോ 9, 10, 11, 12, ഇത് 12th carbon atomത്തിലാണ് വരിക, right? So C12 position, right? Or with C12 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇവിടുന്ന് with respect to the carbonyl group, the position of the double bond is C12. ഇവിടുന്ന് നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ omega 6. Clear? So one on the 9th position and the other on the 12th position, right? So cis delta 9, 12 octa deca dienoic acid. The trienoic ആണ്. Dienoic acid is the linoleic acid. Again, linoleic acid can undergo one more round of desaturation on the 15th position, then converting it into a trienoic acid, and that's known as linolenic acid. Linolenic acid. Kanda. So ഇവിടെ നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 9, 10, 11, 12. Kanda. 9, 12 and 15. There are three double bonds present on the 9th carbon atom, 12th carbon atom and the 15th carbon atom with respect to the carbonyl group. Or ഇവിടെ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ omega 1, 2, 3. So omega 3, right? 3 ലുണ്ട്, 6 ലുണ്ട്, 9 ലുണ്ട്. Clear? So this fatty acid is known as omega-3 fatty acid. കാരണം omega 3rd പൊസിഷനിൽ ആണ് ഡബിൾ ബോണ്ട് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് with respect to the methyl group. So it's an example for an omega-3 fatty acid. അതേസമയം linoleic acid is an example for omega-6 fatty acid. That is, the double bond is starting from the 6th position. 6th ലും ഉണ്ട്, 9 ലും ഉണ്ട്. അതിനെ നമ്മൾ വിളിക്കുക omega-6 fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids. So those fatty acids which are having double bonds beyond the ninth carbon atom with respect to the carbonyl group are known as omega fatty acids. So depending on the position, we can name them as omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids. And these omega-3 and omega-6 are very important for the body. They are very much required by the body. Hence, they are known as essential fatty acids. And examples are linoleic acid and linolenic acid.